The World's Strongest Man competition has been an integral part of the Christmas TV schedule for the last 30 years. The shows have provided dramatic victories, extraordinary displays of strength, and every so often, some eye-wateringly painful injuries.
Oh my goodness!
I've probably broken his arm.
Who have graced the competition over the last 3 decades. The first 3 contests between 1977 and 79 took place at Universal Studios in California and featured only athletes from the United States. A varied collection of football players, powerlifters and bodybuilders were assembled, as well as one guy that you really didn't want to make angry. Lou Ferrigno, aka the Incredible Hulk.
As it so happens, is Bennett, and every time I see that bar of Lou Ferrigno.
The early competitions were all American affairs, and the first 2 winners of the title were Olympic lifter Bruce Wilhelm in 1977 and 78, and powerlifter Don Reinhold in 1979.
I know you trained hard for it all year long. You deserve it. In my book, you're the strongest man in the world.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
The competition, though, was limited in international representation. At this point, neither champion could really claim to be the true world's strongest man. But waiting in the wings was a man who would go on to lay a legitimate claim to the title.
Just beneath that boiling rage, there's this beast of a man.
Damn it!
Kazmaier angry.
1 second to the last whip.
So strong that he may just be able to press the weight overhead.
Bill Kazmaier made his WSM debut in 1979. The 26-year-old Kaz, as he was affectionately known, was the world powerlifting champion, had an intimidating 23-stone frame, and was to become one of the most intense competitors ever.
Bunnies pop up from behind every tree, lurk around every corner. This is the Playboy Resort, you see, and surrounded by these Playboy bunnies, I'm here to witness the contest for the world's strongest man. And helping me out, a very special playmate, Henry Cooper.
Do you think they suit me, Derek?
The venue certainly suited Kazmaier, as he won his first title in 1980.
And Sue.
My focus was on the event and the event only, for the bunnies to sit on. Now, you may not believe this, but I never looked up. My focus was keen on the weight, and I won the event.
And it's 10 points to Kazmaier.
Really is what I would call a gentle giant. I wouldn't want to compete against him. I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley, but I certainly wouldn't want to compete against him.
Thickness of the bar now 15/16 of an inch.
Scary and very strong, undeniably, but even the self-titled strongest man ever was brought down to earth by an iron bar on his way to winning the second title in 1981.
And listen to Kazmaier. Apparently they have suffered some type of muscle pull. Let's hope it's not too severe.
Yeah, the tendon slipped right out of the groove in the shoulder. He's already put the tendon back in, and if we can get the deltoid to settle down, it tore a little bit when the tendon popped out. We'll be okay for the squat and the deadlift.
Okay. Piper in the yellow lane, Waddington in the blue.
The reigning champion was becoming increasingly irritated by the PA announcer's description of opponent Dave Waddington, the man with the strongest legs in the world, apparently. As Kazmaier stood under the bar, eyes bulging and holding a weight of 440 kilos, he was determined to set the record straight.
Legs, right here. You decide.
And so the chef here at the
Kazmaier's domination of his opponents was complete as he strolled to his second title. He had equalled Bruce Wilhelm's record, but there was little doubt that the man from Alabama would go on to eclipse his countryman and fulfill his claim to be the strongest man who ever lived.
I'm Mike Anthony saying thanks.
At the 1982 World's Strongest Man contest, Bill Kazmaier was set to become the first man to take the title for a third time, and few were betting against the American.
There's power.
Especially those who knew the lengths to which Kaz would go to win a contest. Any contest.
Can you imagine?
Kazmaier's win-at-all-costs mentality was all too evident in 1982. In the final round, the sumo wrestling, the champion was carrying a severe injury.
No one knew in the going got absolutely berserk, and went into the ring against John Gamble. He was so scared by the facial expressions I was making, he ran out of the ring.
Kazmaier was indisputably the strongest man in the world. The first to win the contest 3 times, he had raised the bar for those who followed.
Bill Kazmaier believed that he was.
And he's bellowing like the bull of Bashan.
That left the door open for a new champion. Geoff Capes was Commonwealth shot put champion in 1974 and 76, and now coaches the next generation of British field athletes. But he is best known for his exploits in the world's strongest man.
He makes it look so casual, and it's clear he's pleased with that.
I was very
Favourite strength athletes emerged victorious from one of the strongest fields assembled. Despite the absence of the defending champion, few could argue with the true international nature of the competition or the quality of the field. But did the absence of Kazmaier devalue the achievement?
42.6. And he's done it.
There were some real powerful athletes from
Hard and strong work ethics, and wasn't afraid of anybody, and he got into the zone and was just awesome to compete against.
And that hurt.
Kazmaier and Capes formed 2 parts of a triumvirate that developed the world's strongest man from TV curiosity into a worldwide phenomenon. But the third member of this group was arguably the most charismatic strongman of them all.
What is your name in Iceland?
Jón Páll Sigmarsson.
Sigmarsson, or the Viking as he was generally known, won friends and admirers in their thousands. The 6'4" blonde Adonis won the hearts of women with his good looks and quiet charm, and the respect of men with his strength and good humour. As a regular on the Highland Games circuit in the 1980s, he and his friend and training partner, Hjalti Arnason, cemented the notion that Icelanders were men of iron. That desire to entertain thrilled the crowd in Christchurch, but Sigmarsson didn't just talk the talk. The newcomer muscled his way to a runner-up spot on his debut.
Look at this! How about that?
This is going to be a very fast time. 1 minute, 31.7 seconds. Do you get the feeling he's moderately pleased with that performance?
So Kazmaier had a point. The competition was now becoming a European affair. Gone were the days when 8 of the 10 contestants were American with a token European or 2. More significantly, the competition continued without the man who had claimed a hat-trick of titles. After a disagreement with the competition organisers following his 3rd victory in 1982, Kazmaier was excluded for the next 5 years. Even without Kaz, this was a golden era for World's Strongest Man. At times, Capes and Sigmarsson seemed to be running their own personal contest as they shared the title for the next 4 years. But there were also impressive cameo roles played by other immensely powerful men, most notably Ab Volders and Cees de Vroeg of the Netherlands.
A great achievement by the Dutchman.
Wait for the go. Yep. Both of you.
There was great entertainment as well as amazing displays of strength as Sigmarsson and Capes went head to head.
It seems good for Geoff. But just look at that power, and Geoff's hurt.
He is not dead! Yes! Would you believe it?
I have a very big problem over there. Geoff Capes.
Stop showing your biceps.
Will Geoff Capes be in this contest next year?
I don't know. He's afraid. Listen to him. Yes and no.
He still had what it takes, but the years of competition were taking their toll.
Geoff's got him.
It was Sigmarsson who dominated the contest and regained his crown.
And he's beaten Capes by a full 3 seconds.
Honours were now even. Both men held 2 titles, but the Icelander was still only 26 and had his best years ahead of him. Capes, 11 years older, was ravaged by shoulder injuries. The Icelander had Bill Kazmaier's record in his sights.
I am the king!
There are many characters in the story of World's Strongest Man. Most act out their parts in front of the cameras, but many have important roles behind the scenes. As a marshal, assistant referee and driver for the last 19 years, Jimmy Pollock is one of the latter. He is also one of the Vikings' biggest fans.
Now Jim Pollock screaming at the top of his
The man
voice.
from East Kilbride has a real understanding of the competition and the techniques required to succeed. Although his role as Ab Volder's coach in 1989 nearly resulted in a very painful injury.
Acknowledges he has it. Oh, look at the Jim Pollock, an impromptu Highland fling there. That must have hurt.
His distinctive kilt and fiery temper are also well known on the Highland Games circuit, and it was while John Paul Sigmarsson competed in this ancient sport that he and Jimmy became friends.
He would phone me up in the morning and say...
There was no competition in 1987, so hostilities resumed a year later in Budapest, Hungary. A rematch between Capes and Sigmarsson was off the menu. The Englishman had retired after the brutal battle in Nice 2 years earlier. However, there was an even more mouth-watering matchup in prospect. The Kaz was back, past his best possibly, but at last there would be a matchup between the two great strongmen of the age. In the build-up to the contest, tension was high as both camps traded insults and trash talk.
I feel like he's what I'd call a paper champion.
I won 8 events out of 10, so he can eat his paper.
Kazmaier was cast as the raging wild man.
You made a big mistake, Webster. A real big one.
Sigmarsson as the entertainer. It was fair to say that neither man was on the other's Christmas card list. The two heavyweights continued to trade physical achievements and psychological barbs. Sigmarsson upped the ante in a log lift.
Kazmaier was not too happy.
Kazmaier took revenge in the sack race, as he cleverly tied the 200-kilo weight to his belt and became the only man to drag it the length of the grueling 50-metre course. But in a contest where fate seemed to be against the American, even his attempt to mock John Paul's famous laugh backfired. It was the Icelander who had the last laugh. Sigmarsson equalled Kazmaier's 3 titles with a stunning display in the Atlas Stones.
He was really pleased.
The Viking had a hat-trick of wins. Kaz had the same. The big question after 1988 was which man would be the first to claim 4 World's Strongest Man crowns, and at what cost. The 1980s had been an incredibly successful decade for World's Strongest Man. As the contest travelled the globe, the rivalry between Bill Kazmaier, John Paul Sigmarsson and Jeff Capes inspired the 3 men to superhuman displays of strength. The heavy loads had taken their toll. Capes had retired with serious shoulder complaints, and Kazmaier had damaged hamstrings and torn pectoral muscles so badly that he had a permanent hole in his chest. Sigmarsson was also feeling the pressure. He drove his body to more and more unrealistic limits, desperate to become the first man to win 4 titles. He failed in 1989 as England's Jamie Reeves and Holland's Ab Volders beat him into 3rd place. It was the Englishman's only title, although his involvement in the competition continued as a commentator and equipment designer until 2004.